brother sibling movie.
Welcome, friends and chosen family, to Brother Sibling Movie, a podcast where two siblings, that's us, talk about movies we love from our childhood, and some we may be discovering for the very first time, and we center them around a different theme every season.
That's right. I'm your brother, Evan Kerna.
And I'm your sibling, Mare Morgan, or as my screen says, Abracadabra Steve, because that seemed like a funny name. I don't know.
What is this week's movie, Meredith? Mare?
This week's movie is The Matrix.
Or should I say, Steve?
It's The Matrix, the truly astounding film that came out in 1999 from the Wachowski siblings, Lana and I can't remember her sister's name. But the Wachowski
Lana
siblings.
And... Yes.
No, see, every time.
Let's look it up.
We'll look it up.
Truly one of the most influential Hollywood movies of all time. Of the 21st century, easily, of all time, possibly as well.
Yes. And I'm so excited to be talking about two siblings that do creative things together and be talking to my sibling and doing a creative thing.
I never even thought about that, but you're right. Yeah. It is two great siblings doing a sibling project, and that is us too.
They're doing a sibling thing where they're siblings and stuff, and also
it's Lana and Lily.
Lily! Oh, God, I never remember her name.
Yes.
Lana and Lily Wachowski made this film in 1999. I want to start off with something before we get into kind of our memories of this movie as a kid and the synopsis and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
One thing that I just want to kick this off with, it's something Evan and I say a lot, which is this. The Wachowskis can do literally whatever they want because they made the film.
Yes, give them money for the rest of their lives. Just keep giving them money. They deserve to make anything that their brain. Just have a Wachowski fund for. You want to make Hollywood? A crazy movie about a dog boy running through space with a Russian princess? Go for it.
Do it.
You want to make the best live action anime.
Do it.
Cover song of all time, make it happen. Oh, you have a crazy idea for a show about a group of people that share a mind and all have mind orgy sex together and save the world? Make it happen.
Lily, Lana, we're here for you. My babes, we are here for you. Okay? Like whatever you think.
No, they are
anything. Let them do whatever they want. Give them money forever to do whatever they want.
Yeah, I've been hearing much more often. I've been hearing, I think people are, I don't know. We've known for years how important and influential The Matrix as a film to film history has been. But I feel, and I feel like in a way for a while it was its reputation was tainted by the sequels, which I love, by the way. I think the sequels are awesome. They are not as good as The Matrix, don't get me wrong. But
we are not talking about the sequels today. I've already told Evan, we're not talking about the sequels. We're talking about The Matrix.
But I have so much to say about Reloaded and Resurrections. Revolution's not so much. Revolutions is
about them, though. Is
Revolutions is too long. It's an hour
it's so funny
too long.
How you keep not hearing me say we're not talking.
Do you want to hear more about the sequels to The Matrix?
You know what? Anyway. Yeah, go right ahead. Fuck off.
My point is that I've been hearing people talk about now that we're further away from the sequels, I think I've been hearing people talk more about kind of recognizing how insane it is that The Matrix is a thing. I was listening to an interview with Kevin Smith and, giving inspiring advice to young filmmakers. And he was he used The Matrix as, he was saying people need to learn, people need to use their voice, people want you, like, you're the only person with your voice and you need to put it out there. And he gave the example, like, you know, oh, you're a studio, the studio wants the Matrix, they want that new authentic incredible
Yes,
thing that doesn't exist because of you. It's like, yes, the Matrix, my point is the Matrix is not just a movie milestone, it's like a cultural
it is.
milestone because it gave
It's
us a way
oh
to
man,
talk about something we didn't have a succinct metaphor yet, and we have it
yes.
now.
And I think too, it's really interesting. So we are talking about this movie 25 years after it came out, right? This came out in 1999. The year is the year of Chapel Rowan 2024.
God,
So
I'm so old. How old is Chapel Rowan? Like 14?
I don't know, dude. Like so young. So
She's
young.
incredible though. That song
She's
is great.
incredible.
It's really,
Chapel
really
Rowan,
good.
10 out of 10. But it's really interesting to be talking about The Matrix 25 years later and viewing it with the lens that we have now, right?
Yeah.
As
Mhm.
AI is taking over every industry, as all of these things that have been in this sort of larger cultural lexicon are now coming to fruition. We'll
Mhm.
talk more about all of these hot topics and things. I'm gonna do just like I'm gonna try and just do like a real quick synopsis because I feel like this is a movie where talking about the intricacies of like plot and theme and acting and all of that is great.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna try really hard not to just do like a beat by beat summary and just do the most succinct, quick thing because I just want to talk about everything in this movie. This is the Wachowski siblings made this film. It's a science fiction film that's a kind of a dystopian future where uh humanity spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. If you haven't seen The Matrix, why are you even here? Um, where basically humans live in a computer simulation called The Matrix, and it is controlled by intelligent machines. The title character or the main character is quote unquote Thomas Anderson, who's like a hacker. Who PS this is the most 1999 film of all time, and the Wachowskis just like give us everything our little nerd fangirl hearts want. Because Keanu Reeves plays Neo, and it is just like, do you have a crush on a boy in 1999? I bet he looks like this. Um,
Do you
it's
like a
fantastic.
slightly androgynous but very masculine person?
Yes. Um, so yeah, he's this character, he's living his life as like a computer programmer, but then like his other life is as a hacker. And he's been obsessed with this thought that something is not right with his life. Something isn't right, and has sort of found through the early internet and news clippings and stuff, oh, there's this person called Morpheus, and there's maybe something else out there, and like maybe the world that we see around us isn't actually real, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Um, and so then his suspicion basically is confirmed, right? He's contacted by this group who is led by Morpheus, um, and Carrie Ann Moss in
Slay Queen.
oh my god. Carrie Ann Moss plays Trinity. And
Oh,
I
I
would
was talking about
oh.
Morpheus, but yeah, also
Oh,
Slay Queen.
okay, honestly though, Morpheus, yes, he's a slay. 10 out of 10. Um, so Trinity basically contacts him and just thank you, Lana and Lily Wachowski, for putting the one and only Carrie Ann Moss in skin tight pleather this entire film. My tiny lesbian heart, when I was 9 years old, was excited about it for a reason I didn't understand at the time. Um, so basically, okay, so Morpheus grabs Neo, etc. And essentially it's he exposes the Matrix and exposes like what the Matrix is, and that, you know, the world, the actual quote unquote real world, is like a barren wasteland. It's controlled by the machines. Human beings are like plugged in to these fucking goo pods that I know we're going to talk about. Um, and then you have to kind of release them, you know, release people and release them from the Matrix. and then there's sort of this overarching, Morpheus has this dream of Neo being the one, right? So very very hero's journey stuff of,
Mhm.
oh, we have this one person who is like this prophesied figure who is going to be able to like defeat the machines, defeat the matrix, undo all of that and return humans back to the real world and humanity and all of that sort of stuff. um in that, Neo does, he starts to open his mind to the bounds of reality. What is reality? What isn't reality? What would you do if you could basically see like the DOS programming of the universe and get in there with your little fingies and
Mhm.
do all kinds of stuff, right? Um, there's several great fight scenes. Morpheus gets taken by these beings called the agents, which are basically, you can kind of think about them almost like an antivirus software in a computer, except they are dressed in suits and like sunglasses and stuff. But they're basically, they show up to try and like kill Morpheus and his crew and Trinity and Neo and all of that. Um, they're kind of the big bads, right? The villains of this film.
Yar.
And we'll get more into it, but the a lot of the themes in this film are about like choice versus fate, um, reality, the nature of reality, the nature of identity, all of that stuff. So that's like such a broad strokes overview. But I just wanted to kind of do that because I was like, I just want to talk to Evan about how fucking sick this movie is. It's so fucking good. Um,
Yeah, and we can still stick to our, format of talking through scenes like one at a time and just being
yes,
like,
we
remember
will.
that
We
part?
still
He
will.
knows about the fucking kung fu shit. That shit's cool.
Oh my god, we're gonna probably have like, we're kinda, you know what? Honestly, if this entire podcast is just us talking about that fucking fight scene in the dojo, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Um,
I
but
will, I will, how do I want to phrase this? I will let, I will embarrass myself for the good of our audience because The Matrix came out when I was 12. Yes, 12. Um, up
are
until
you
I
gonna
was
talk about Halloween?
14,
No, okay.
I was like still watching this movie on VHS at home and reenacting scenes full force, jumping off the walls, full Star Wars kid to this movie.
Yes.
It it created such a beautiful love in my heart that I had to
Yeah.
physicalize it. I had to
You were
dance with it.
you were always doing that though. Like if you liked a movie, you would be like running when the people were running and like jumping off shit when people were jumping off shit, and like it was very
Oh yeah.
funny. Um but I Did you see this in the theater? Because you're 3 years older than
Hmm.
me. So did you see it in the theater for the first time, like with dad or something?
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Back when we were kids, maybe we've talked about this on previous podcasts, but Meredith was part of a Girl Scout troop growing up during that, which our mother helped run. During that time, our father and I would have father-son bonding time, and typically it would mean going to a movie in the afternoon or Mm, occasionally it was like the slot car racetrack or
Oh,
something like
yeah.
that, but mostly it was movies. So yes, I believe Dad took
Okay,
me
you
to go
saw it with
see this
that.
in the theater in 1999, like the summer of
Yeah.
'99, and
I
it. I mean, I can't. I think this has been talked about ad nauseum by millennials. I'm sure for on other movie podcasts, but much like everybody else, I went in a child. I came out something that was not a child anymore. My little brain was
Your
blown
brain
all the
was
way open just thinking about, and it wasn't, and I mean, I'm just gonna keep just fanboying out about this movie.
That's
Like,
what I mean!
think about how insanely cool and meaningful and interesting this movie is. It's like it has these deep philosophical questions about what are reality that they physicalize with a real metaphor. It's talking about oppression, but not just oppression of a robot species over humanity, but oppression over our minds and the way we think, because the way the Matrix tricks you is it tricks you into giving you comfortable things that you want. It tricks you by giving you security, which is what
Mm.
society gives us, right?
Mhm.
But it keeps us from getting radicalized and keeps us from thinking outside the box. And the movie is about that too. Think like breaking out of the matrix and accepting reality, even if it's hard, even if it's uncomfortable. That's what most of the great philosophers try to get
Mhm.
across to us. Like, think uncomfortable thoughts, they free your mind. Um, and then to pair that with like Hong Kong style action, kung fu
Dude,
sequences and
dude,
guns, it was like, who thought of this? This is so crazy awesome.
it's so great. It's so great. And,
Mhm.
like, I mean, in this movie too, in just from a filmmaking perspective, like, pacing and plot-wise, like, they do not fuck around. You don't really learn what the setup for the movie is until like 20 minutes into the film. Like it drops you into Hong Kong style action immediately. It like opens on Carrie Ann Moss like in the Matrix. Um and it just goes, and the effects are amazing, the stunts are amazing. Um it's all like electronica music and
Oh yeah,
fucking
that helps
black
too.
pleather, and it's
Mhm.
great, and I love it so much.
Yeah, I bought Rage Against the Machine's Battle of Los Angeles because
Oh,
of
yeah.
this movie, which
I
got me
many
into
people did,
Rage
many
like
people did.
many a person back then.
Yeah, and I will say I watched this movie, I think, like, we bought the VHS or something, and I watched it when I was, like, 9 or something. I didn't get it when I was 9. I was like, I mean, it's cool, but, like, who cares?
I've
Because I
been
was 9.
watching Right. I've been watching so many interviews with Keanu Reeves recently, like
Mm,
current, because I'm just like,
yes.
this guy is
This
like who
man.
I aspire to be.
He is a
And
man among men.
there's some interview going around, clips of this piece of an interview going around the internet where he's like describing he's talking about describing the Matrix. He's at dinner with a friend of his, and his friend's kids haven't seen the Matrix, so it's like, why don't you describe what the Matrix is to them? And he's like, he explains what the Matrix is, and then the youngest girl is like, why do they care? And he's like, what do you mean? It's like, you don't care if it's real? And she's like, no. And Keanu's just like, that's awesome. I'm like,
Oh god.
what a guy. What a guy, this guy. I love
He's like,
him.
"You're a psychopath." Yeah, it's man, I really feel like, I mean, Keanu Reeves had been in other kinda action movie, Point Break and that kinda stuff, but this I think this film solidified him as a different type of action star. Like, I would definitely say he's an action star, but he's not an action star in the way like The Rock is an action star, or excuse me, Dwayne
Right.
Johnson, or like Mark
No,
Wahlberg. Like it's very different. It's a very
he's
different
more
vibe.
yeah, he's more like a Hong Kong action star. He's more like a
Yeah,
Chow Yun Fat or a possibly, I mean, Jackie Chan is in a sort of league all his own, but he's,
I know.
he's of that caliber of like Hong
Yeah,
Kong action star.
yeah, and it's I was just looking up. Hang on. The stunt coordinator on this film is Glenn Boswell, and the martial arts choreographer was this guy called Clint Cadena. But the stunt double for Keanu Reeves, Chad Stileski, went on to be the stunt coordinator for the next 2 Matrix films and directed John Wick. So, like, he has
Mm,
worked, so I think that says something when like a stunt person wants to work with the same actors again, and like it understands like the work, you get what it takes, and all of that.
Hmm.
But yeah, the stunts in this film are beyond incredible. But I
Oh,
yeah,
and sorry, just to,
no, go ahead.
I'm not familiar with those names, but just so that the internet doesn't get mad at us, I believe the martial arts action choreographer for The Matrix, maybe in addition to these people that you mentioned, was Yuen Wu Ping, who
Yes,
is a very, 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 very famous Hong Kong martial arts action choreographer, and has
yes,
choreographed fight sequences in all of your favorite Hollywood movies after The Matrix: Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, the Kill Bill movies,
mhm,
Fearless, the rest of the Matrix movies, etc. But he had a
yes.
long
I
career working with Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Michelle Yeoh,
I
Donnie Yen,
am not
etc.
a film industry person, and I don't always know what jobs mean. Which actually, can you clear something up for me? Because I do want to talk about the sets. What's the difference between a production designer and an art director on a film? Like, what does that mean?
Well, I'm not always. There's probably actual, you know, art director union kind of like stipulations of what those people
Email us,
do, but
brothersiblingmovie at gmail.com.
yes. But within my world of stop motion animation, which is, adjacent to both live action filmmaking in the sense that you're making physical things and filming them with a camera, and also animation, a production designer designs the production. The production designer, they're basically like the architect. They're making the drawings, they're running the team
Got
of
it. Okay.
concept artists, they are making the blueprint
Okay.
layout for how things are built. The art director is in charge of the shop or the arena where the actual builders are making the things. So the art director takes their cues from the
Oh,
production
so
designer.
they're
They
like
get
the
their,
fabricator, kind of. Like
in a
they're the
way,
ones
yeah.
fabricating. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
That's good
And
to
they
know.
have a lot of their own creative input because,
Sure.
something can look good on paper and in a conceptual design, but then there's lots of
Right.
problem solving that has to happen on the floor that people didn't think about when they were drafting it. So there's
Right.
still a lot of like, you know, and they are overlooking the set decorator, who is the lead set
Right.
dresser, who are
Right.
dressing the sets, making things look good to camera. So yeah, but that's the
Interesting.
delineation. The
Okay.
production
That's
designer is talking with the director and the producers about the overall
gotcha.
needs of the production and what the look
Gotcha.
of it is, and getting the feel right and then the art director takes those plans and then implements them in actually building
Kind
the
of makes
stuff
it
and
happen. Okay.
running the team
Um,
that makes those things happen.
got you. Okay, because I do just want to give a big shout out to everybody that worked on the look of this film. Because throughout the film, we are going between the Matrix and the quote unquote real world.
Hmm.
Um, and obviously, I'm sure, if you've ever seen anything about the Matrix, you see the like falling code, right? That's like the code of the Matrix, the underlying code of it, and it's
Zero
green.
zero 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 one 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 one
Uh,
zero 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 one.
yes. And
Another millennial reference. Enjoy that, children.
no one knows. No one knows, Evan. No one knows.
Everyone
We're
knows Flight of the Concords. If you don't know Flight of the
small.
Concords,
If
you
you don't know
better.
Flight of the Concords, fuck off. Um,
Yeah.
so but everything in the Matrix is very sterile and very clean, and it also has a green tint. Like if you look at stills of when they're in the actual Matrix, it has like this like sickly green tint to everything. And then when you go
Hmm.
into the real world, it is real fucked up. It's like rusty and just it looks like you shook a box of like nails and other ephemera on shit. But it's a really cool distinction, and it, it furthers to kind of be like this is when once you notice it, you can't not see it, which is kind of the same
Hmm.
journey that Neo's going on of once you realize there's something wrong, what does Morpheus say? It lives like a splinter in your brain or something like
Yeah.
that. Um,
Yeah. It's always in the back of your mind.
was in the back of your mind. Well, okay. I want to talk some about what do we think? Do we want to talk about the Chosen One story arc a little bit and like how that plays out with Neo and how that goes into like choice versus fate?
Yeah. Let's
'Cause I
start
want
there.
to. Okay, you go. I brought it up. You go.
So, The Matrix is a pretty classic hero's journey story that really, in a lot of ways, I mean, it takes from a lot of even more uh, complicated, fascinating, and interesting, philosophical histories like Foucault and stuff,
Hmm.
Rousseau and stuff like that. But at its base, it's a modern day interpretation of Plato's allegory of the cave, which is like, once when you it's like philosophy 101, storytelling 101 in a lot of ways. The very briefly the allegory of the cave is that if you're a person who's been raised to live in a cave and there's been imagine you've lived in a cave your whole life and there is a fire behind you and there's a person who is casting shadows with their hands and they're doing a little puppet show and you're told that that's reality. This is life. These are the people in the world and this is your world. You're contained within this bubble and these are the people being cast on the wall.
Well, and importantly, the representation you're seeing is that is been told to you is the representation is what's real. That's the real
Right.
version of like a bird. That's really a bird, but it's even if it's just a representation of it.
Yeah. So if you were to say, get out of the cave and see daylight for the first time and see a real person walking around, it would be a little hard to accept. Um, it would be it would be uh, overwhelming, and you probably wouldn't accept it right away. You would want to go back into the cave, but the cave is not real. What the reality of the cave isn't real. Life in the sunshine with real people saying real things in the brightness of the day is reality. It's scary at first, but it is real.
Mhm.
So, um, and that's what we go through as we it's that's what we go through as we wake up to what the world is. As we grow up, basically, as we become fully realized thinking beings. So to in within the story of the Matrix, um, Thomas Anderson, Neo, lives in the cave. He lives in the
Mhm.
Matrix. Everything that he sees appears real to him, but it's a facsimile of reality. It's been given to him.
Yeah,
So
and that sorry, I was gonna take that and run with it.
go with it.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say that this film is so interesting in how it frames things because they are talking about a lot of academic theories and of like queer theory, psychology, sociology, etc., but they're putting it in this very uh contemporary framing. And one of the things that they talk about in or that Morpheus talks to Neo about is uh, residual self image, which is a psychological term of basically, um, what did I write down? It's a concept in psychology that people retain an image of themselves that does not correspond with reality, but that
Mm-hmm.
they're unwilling or unable to let go of that residual self image. And it basically is just like a way of living in the past and not accepting reality. And that is one of the things that Morpheus talks about with Neo in the sense of your projection of yourself, your residual self-image isn't you. You don't actually even know who you are because everything that you have been told or everything that you have experienced or seen or whatever, that didn't that was a computer program making that happen. A sophisticated one, but those weren't your experiences. None of that stuff was something that you personally experienced. And I think it's a really great, The Matrix is great. This time when I was watching it, because obviously I've seen it many times, but this time what kept striking me with Neo, um, was, again, getting back to that, like, kind of big central theme of choice versus fate. And one of the things that comes up a lot is the magical idea, and I mean, I'm talking about, like, chaos magic, right hand path, left hand path magic, whatever. But that idea of, if you change your perception, you change your reality. So if you can get your brain to think differently about something, it will automatically change how you interact with the world. Like, it'll change how reality exists for you. And I think that's a big part of what Neo's journey is going through. Is he's basically, like, consistently being told by Morpheus in the fucking sick as shit dojo scene, you are like, that scene is a great example of, your perception is not your reality. Like, you need to change the underlying perception of how you are moving in the world to understand that, like, the rules of physics aren't the rules of physics. This is a computer code. This is a computer program. You can do whatever you want. As soon as you learn how to manipulate it, you can manipulate anything. And it's really fucking sick.
You think that's air you're breathing now?
But
yeah, the
yes,
hero's journey. And then of course, not that anybody who like knows anything about movies and storytelling isn't already super well versed in this, but the hero's journey is basically a sort of mythological architecture of stories that usually have to do with hero myths and things, and this movie pretty much adheres to it pretty
to a
greatly,
T.
pretty well,
But again,
which
in
makes sense.
such a different context, that I don't think yeah, it's talking about so many other things as well. It's not just talking
Mhm.
about, this hero's journey. Um,
Yeah, so Thomas Anderson, is hacking, trying to figure out what's going on. The agents, the people, the bad guys of the Matrix are trying to persuade him to not pursue it anymore. He can't. Um, he's he's taken out of the Matrix to see reality, which is, he's given a choice, a call to action by
mm,
Morpheus to say you can take the red pill or the blue pill, which basically means you can stick around in the Matrix and live your life, or you can see the
wake
world for
up.
what it really is,
Yeah.
and you can join me, and I'll give you the truth. And guess what? Truth's not comfortable, and
And
Neo now kind of really doesn't want to do it, so he refuses to know it. But once he accepts it, he starts to learn the ways of this new system, and in a lot of ways dive into becoming the person he's supposed to be. And this movie is interesting because since it is so philosophical, a big part of this is dealing with the prophecy, because there's been
mm,
a prophecy in the human world that someone, a Jesus like figure, is going to come and
mhm.
save everybody. And
It's gonna, like, set humanity free from the machines.
there's a small enclave of humanity living in a city called Zion at the center of the earth, where the core of the earth is still warm enough to sustain human life. So they've all gathered there, and they're the last, bastions of society trying to stay alive. Is whatever, like, you know 8,000 people or something. I don't remember the exact numbers, but there's not a lot of people left.
Mhm.
Um, and so they have to protect Zion at all costs. Um, and there's this prophecy. Interestingly, the mechanics of the storytelling center around who believes this prophecy.
Yeah.
Is it real? What is, like, because ultimately Neo has to make a choice as to whether or not he believes he is the one or not. It's halfway through the movie, they go to the Oracle, who is supposedly dispensing these prophecies and telling people whether they're right, helping people open their minds up to see past the guise of the Matrix still.
Well, and
And
the Oracle lives in the Matrix.
right.
The
She's
Oracle is a computer program.
yes, I think they say, I was wondering if that was a spoiler for anybody who hasn't seen the sequels, but I'm pretty sure it's not. I think that this is
It's been 20
within the Matrix, the
years.
movie. I know.
25 years.
But yeah, she's a computer program in the Matrix that's interested in helping humanity. And she straight up tells Neo, "You're not the one. You're not it."
Yeah.
But through the course of them having to escape the Matrix, the agent, one of the crew members of the Nebuchadnezzar, their real world ship that flies through the sewers of old Earth, basically, Cypher gives them up because he wants to go back into the Matrix. And because of this, Morpheus gets caught by the agents. Neo, they're going to kill him, but Neo realizes that he can wants to try to save him. This is an important point because it's not up to the Oracle to tell Neo who he is. It's up to Neo to tell himself who he is. It doesn't really matter if anybody tells him he's the one. He has to believe it. And that, I think the movie makes it pretty clear that it's up to your choice what you believe about yourself. And that is the thing that alters your reality and kicks you. And that's what kicks Neo into actually being the one. People believe in him because he believes in himself ultimately.
Isn't
And of
that an
course, he
important
also has to.
lesson?
Isn't that an important lesson? You can be the one too,
Yeah.
person. You just have to believe. But also don't go through life with main character energy. That's just annoying.
That's like really annoying though. Like, oh God, don't do that.
So yeah, it's a very powerful sort of, take on, and importantly, it fits very well into the Hollywood filmmaking meat grinder as well. So it ticked all the boxes,
Yeah.
The most annoying thing in movies in general is when storytellers rely on a prophecy to sort of like indicate like this is the person you're supposed to be paying attention to, and they're important because we said so. And it's like, no, stories in general, and good movies, I think, are about people learning how to be themselves, how to
Yeah.
self-actualize, how to be the one, and how to be the one out of many. So Neo goes on a great journey to kind of uncover the choice in himself and learn the lessons, um, a lot of which involve kung fu.
Moi deep, moi deep, moi deep. It's a very similar like Paul Atreides sort of thing in
Yeah.
Dune. But again, it
Can
is
we?
that
Sorry, finish your thought.
no, please go ahead.
I'm just gonna ask for a bathroom break soon, but finish your thought.
Oh, I want to pee too.
Nice.
What was I
Yes.
gonna say? Oh yeah, it is really refreshing in that kind of traditional hero's arc story journey to not have the larger wheels of fate be fully in control. Like it only works because Neo has made a choice to accept his fate. Right? Neo
Right.
could have just
Mhm.
said, "Blue pill me, bitch. I'm out. I'm not doing this."
Mhm.
But he goes quote unquote down the rabbit hole and learns all of this stuff and
Mhm.
ultimately realizes that, whether or not I'm the one doesn't matter because what I'm going
Mhm.
to do is what I know to be correct. And then by doing that, he's kind of fulfilling this prophecy. So it's a much more character driven decision instead of, oh, somebody, 1,000 years ago said that I was this really special, and so I guess I'm really special. Looking at you, J.K. Rowling, you fucking bitch. So yeah, it's a great, compelling story, and it makes for a much more compelling narrative structure in that realm.
Yeah, I agree. I love this movie to death. When we return, we'll be talking about
Kung Fu.
more about kung fu, leather, and
Oh,
our beautiful and lovely takeaways about this awesome movie.
are we
No more
grounding
staying.
ourselves?
Hmm.
Are we grounding ourselves, doing some breathing?
That's right.
I fell down my stairs last night and my ass is bruised on one side. It's very uncomfortable sitting here.
Ugh. I'm sorry to hear that.
My stairs are so fucking narrow and so goddamn steep that I was just like going down and I wasn't paying attention. And I like hit it wrong and I just slid down like 4 of my stairs. Oh my god. Hit the back of my head, hit my elbow, but my
I think you should just install a giant memory foam cushion on the
on
wall
everything,
on the opposite yes,
on
on the end
everything.
of your staircase, and then turn your staircase into a ramp or a slide.
I
So then
agree.
you can just slide down it and hit a giant pillow that's
I think that's a
2 feet
brilliant
away from the
idea.
wall.
I think it's a brilliant
Hmm.
idea.
Yeah.
Okay, we are back. We're talking The Matrix. Let's talk some like specific scenes. Yes. Uh,
Yes.
there are
It
so
would. Yeah.
many great set pieces in this film in terms of like the fights and the sequences and everything. We've already alluded to it, but do you want to talk about the dojo scene a little bit?
Let's talk about that dojo scene. Yeah, I say we go through some highlights.
Yes,
Maybe
absolutely.
try talking for another half hour, 45 minutes. Get the best parts of the Matrix on the table.
Yes, please.
Okay, so yeah, the dojo scene is incredible. So the dojo scene, to set it up, is Neo has accepted his sort of entrance into the Matrix and is sort of ready to start learning the ways. And I realized that a good 45 minutes of this movie is just like a training montage, although it's not a
Yes,
montage. If you really break it down, the first half of the Matrix is just exposition, but it's
yes,
exposition done so well with great examples. It's
it's
like you shouldn't be
amazing.
afraid of exposition. Anyway, the dojo scene. Neo has begun to take on the burden, the responsibility of being a person in the Matrix. He's been told that he could potentially be the one, and we are treated to a scene that I always wished was a thing that could happen, where
Mm.
um, he jacks into the sort of everybody in this world who was born in the Matrix has a big jack on the back of their head, which allows them to sort of log on to the Matrix, but it also allows them to download programs directly into their head. So Neo downloads every known martial arts known to man and
And
is
it's
capable,
great. And
and
he's
it's
like,
awesome.
and they're
And
like,
he
"Oh
knows
my
kung
god."
fu.
And he knows kung fu. And also the fucking jabby needle. I'm like, that didn't have to be a needle. It could have literally been like a USB port, but they were like, no, 8-inch long needle goes into your brain. I was like, okay.
It
Um,
has to be scary. I mean,
it
what
has to be
else,
scary.
Hmm.
But yeah, so this dojo scene is basically Neo's first experience in the Matrix or in a training program. He's not actually in the Matrix, but it's a training program that whatever, it looks like the quote unquote real world. Um, and it's his first time being in a computer program that he is consciously aware is a computer program, and he's in it with Morpheus, who we haven't said yet is played by Lawrence Fishburne, who's amazing in everything that he does, but especially in this film. And it's basically trying to train Neo to readjust his thinking about what he is capable of.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, well, you know you're in the Matrix now, or you know that it's a computer program. Um, and basically it just fucking starts, and Lawrence Fishburne and Keanu Reeves kick the shit out of each other in a really
Yeah.
amazingly orchestrated and choreographed fight scene, like martial arts fight scene.
Yeah, Keanu is Neo is wearing a white
Mm,
gi martial arts uniform, and Larry Fishburne is wearing a black one, indicating newness and experience. And I don't know, man, they go to town on each other. But very cleverly, the scene is peppered with exposition, or
mhm.
it's peppered with little lessons about what it means to overcome your limiting thoughts and your limiting beliefs about yourself.
Yes.
Um, so as Larry Fishburne continues, as Morpheus continues to sort of showcase that he's much better at kung fu than Neo is, he continuously makes the point, like, nothing about my physicality is the thing that makes me better than you in here. You
Yeah.
have to open your mind to believe that you can hit me. You have to
Yes.
you your speed is is only hindered by how fast you think you're supposed to be in here. If you
Yes.
think you're faster, you will be faster.
Yes. It's he like knocks Neo to the ground, and as he's kind of giving this great, like, do you think that any of that has any bearing in here? And giving this whole great speech, and at the end he just kind of very thoughtfully goes, "You think that's air you're breathing now?" and like walks away, and it was like, "Oh, fuck, that's such a good line." Um, hmm.
Makes you think.
Yeah, and it's cool because you also, for Neo as a character, over the course of this fight scene, it is a fight scene, but like Evan was saying, there's a lot of exposition in it as well. If you start seeing Neo's thought process go from, I've never done kung fu before, I know how to do it, but like here's the bounds of physical space, and that is where I exist. And by the end of the fight, it is, oh, so I can do whatever. Like, I can
Yeah.
run up a wall and flip upside down and all of this shit because I'm not constrained by a perception. I'm not constrained by this one idea of what reality is. And it's
That
really
that
great.
particular that particular scene is uh and I think this plays an important part in the movie making aspect, because this is the first time before, I mean, besides some of the teaser fight scenes that you've seen Trinity do at the very very beginning of the
Mhm.
movie. um you see Neo, basically there's a lot of Hong Kong style wire work being done, which
Yes.
allows people to kind of defy gravity and be totally work against the bounds of physical reality to make even more awesome kung fu moves happen. um, I mean, this is where I don't know how iconic it is by today's standards, but back in the day, that scene,
Mm.
the part of the fight where Neo is starting to get the lesson, he's runs up one of the wooden posts in the
Yeah.
dojo and kind of flips over backwards over Morpheus's head, and it's filmed in a very cool, like, slow motion
Yeah,
way.
the camera work and how in all of the fight scenes, you get the sense that I say beautifully choreographed because it's not just the fight scene that's beautifully choreographed, but the whole how the camera is working around the fight scenes and how they kind of it seems like they took into account that the camera was like the other person in the fight and how can you move or shift and get these really interesting angles and just great um like a different view of fight scenes. I mean, I
Mhm.
remember when The Matrix came out and a Western audience at least was not used to seeing Hong Kong style fights really. And,
Mhm.
this is a lexicon that a different film industry created. And this was sort of one of the main first times that it came to a mainstream Western audience. And it would like it blew people's minds. Like it blew people's minds with all of the effects and the fighting and
It
everything.
did.
Um, and
Yeah, there's go ahead.
I didn't know that I had it into that sentence actually, so thank you for saving me.
Y uh, the fight choreography is incredible.
Mm.
The dojo looks great and is very well production designed because it falls apart in various
Oh,
ways that
it's so
are
good,
all
it's so
great and intentional.
satisfying.
The fights are incredible. They have a lot of meaning to the story. There's action and adventure and everything in between, and
Dude,
love
dude,
and
alright. We're
happiness.
moving on to another scene that I wanna talk about because you cannot be trusted with thoughts and consciousness right now. Um,
Thank you.
you're welcome anytime. The next scene that I did wanna touch on, which is another training sequence, it's another, like, training program that Neo's in, and it's the woman in the red dress scene. It's
Well, first we should talk quickly
Oh,
about
yeah.
just the fact that after the dojo and kind of leading
Oh,
in
yes.
from the dojo scene is um, the iconic memed moment
Mm,
of Keanu going, "Whoa," because this is when Morpheus tells him he's got to free his mind and jump over buildings, which
yes.
often duplicated in other movies, never really replicated. But it's pretty iconic. He's got to
Like, he's
jump over two
over
buildings
like, in downtown
and
Manhattan that are, like,
mhm,
200 yards apart.
yeah, because let's not forget that in the Matrix, you can basically defy physics enough to basically basically fly, more or less.
Yeah.
And Morpheus jumps between two buildings. Neo goes, "Whoa!" And we get that iconic GIF meme, and of course, he falls, and it's a training simulator, and he doesn't do it. So he's still got more to learn. Hence, the next program, the woman in the red dress.
Yes, which I this scene is beautifully orchestrated in terms of the set design, set decoration, art direction, everything, like, everybody is coming at there's a crowd of people basically coming down a street, like, in New York or something or some big city, and everybody is wearing black and white. And everybody is coming at them and they're going against the crowd. And you think and then so anyway, everybody's wearing black and white clothes. They're all coming towards Neo and Morpheus. You think that they're in the Matrix. You think they're in the real world. And then this hottie fucking patati lady in a red dress, like all pin-up hair, blonde hottie, goes walking by and distracts Neo. And when Morpheus is like, "Oh, were you listening to what I was saying, or were you looking at the woman in the red dress?" Neo says, "No, I was looking at the woman in the red dress." And he's like, "Look again." And there's an agent pointing a gun at Neo's face. At which point you're like, "Oh shit!" And then Morpheus pauses the program. Um, and it's just there's not, I mean, it's obviously it like speaks to the characters. Da da da. It's just like a great scene, visually speaking. It's a great scene. Um,
Everything in this movie illustrates some kind of concept that's worth
yes.
remembering in your everyday life, especially almost every scene in the first half of this movie, which is
Mhm.
all basically getting you caught up to what the hell the Matrix
Like,
is
what the
and
fuck
all
are
of
we
the
talking about?
mechanism. And they do such a good job of like stepping it out, of like teasing you. And oh, I remember what I was going to say.
Oh, what were you gonna
It's a
say?
testament this has to do with the dojo scene, but it really has to do with all of the scenes.
Mhm.
Like, don't forget that this was the Wachowskis' second feature film. This is the second full-length feature film
Second
they
feature
ever made.
film. Second
It's a
feature film.
It's a testament to how good the concept was, that like multi-generation, highly talented, experienced people um, jumped onto this movie. People with years of experience made this movie so much better with their combined, artistry and filmmaking knowledge, because they, I think, could clearly see that this had legs and was like nothing else they'd ever seen before or experienced before. And it's a testament to the Wachowskis for having an idea that was so out of the box and combined all of their favorite things, the things that made them excited about making movie, from anime to Hong Kong cinema to philosophy, cyberpunk, leather, probably some BDSM thrown in
Yes.
there.
Yes. I'm wagging my eyebrows for people not watching.
Yes, and so it's a testament to all of the highly experienced people, cinematographers, camera people, choreographers, costume people that joined on to this, because they, I think, it feels like everybody saw the vision for this movie and wanted to bring it to life. Again, this is their second feature film, and they got like some of the world's most experienced people to help them create it, because people knew this was going to be mind-blowing, and it was, and it still is
It
today.
still is. Yeah, it still is. And yeah, that's a good lesson in life. If you're a creative person or just anybody, like, surround yourself with people that know more than you, that are supportive of what you want to do, just across the
100%.
board. You're going to learn so much from them.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Um,
there was a couple other
should we
scenes, like
talk
just specific
about
scenes I wanted to
the,
cherry pick out.
um
Um,
I mean, I really want to talk about bullet time, which is a very
oh my
important
God.
piece of this movie,
I
unless there's
want
something in between that's
I want to
worth
talk about
talking about
bullet
more.
time. Wait, is bullet time before or after the lobby? It doesn't matter.
The sort of super iconic bullet time scene happens after the lobby.
Okay. Well, let's just really quick talk about the lobby scene. There's a certain point where Morpheus has been taken by the agents, and he and Neo and Trinity basically are like, we're gonna go fuck some shit up in this lobby, in this like building. And it is the best, because Neo's like in a training program and is like, and Trinity's like, what are we gonna need? And he's like, guns, lots of guns. And then it's just like a fucking veritable, like, like every single gun that's ever been made on the
Yes.
face of the planet, like,
This
comes shooting at them, and it's incredible. It's
Yeah, this is definitely a movie made at the very, very tail end of the 20th century,
yeah,
when guns were still fun
fun.
on, on a
Uh-huh.
conceptual on a conceptual movie level. I
And
mean,
it's
honestly, they still
yes.
are fun. This is the thing that, in movies, this is the trick that I realized James Cameron is so good at
Mm,
playing with. He's like, people, I'm trying to get across a message of like eco-friendly environmental consciousness, and people being, essentially fighting for what is good, and, saving the planet in the way that he's able
mhm.
to sort of get that across. But I also know that people love guns. So my main characters are going to be Marines. They're really good at shooting things, and I'm going to have my cake and eat it too.
Go fuck yourself. They're
Like,
8 feet tall.
that's
They're 8 feet
that's
tall.
brilliant
They're
Hollywood
they're
brain
blue.
thinking.
Fuck
I'm
off.
gonna give people some vitamins, and I'm also gonna give them their milkshakes, because
Yes,
that's what people want when they go to
yes.
the movies.
It is a real, giving a pill to a dog by coating it in peanut butter situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
And the Matrix is that. It's mind vitamins,
it is.
wrapped in, gun and action, um, meat.
Yeah. Yeah, yes? And I would
Sweets.
sweets. And I would say that many of the other fight scenes in this film have expository purpose. The lobby scene
Mhm.
does not. The lobby scene is about Trinity and Neo showing up in their sick as shit fucking like 1999 fetish gear, basically, and
Mhm.
just annihilating everybody that comes into their path and looking
Yes.
super hot and really cool while they do it. And wowzers, the tile budget on this film though. Can
Mhm.
you even like I can't. There's so many of like squibs going off and little explosions happening and wire movement fight. I can't
Mhm.
remember what you call them. But it just exists to be like Neo is a badass. Trinity is the hottest motherfucker to ever exist. Don't fuck with her ever. It's great.
I would say
It's
that it
so
does have
it's
a purpose within the, you know, we get so wrapped up in talking about films and books as if they're sort of like, science projects. And it's true, like from the screenwriting standpoint, like everything has to sort of like have a purpose on the page. But the actual making of a movie is a lot closer to sort of like orchestrating a symphony or writing a piece of music, because it has to do with like rhythm, and
right.
feel
Yes.
and how
Yes.
and importantly in this movie, this is maybe the lobby scene is important in the context of the movie because it shows off the power fantasy of being basically this all-powerful fighting team within the context of the Matrix. It
Yes.
gives you,
That's
the
true.
audience member, and a feeling of being like, now we're cooking,
Like
like
we're
that, like we can do
unstoppable.
anything, we're unstoppable, which is good. You have to have that feeling of unstoppableness so that there's a dip when things get bad again and you can come out of it. So
Yes. It's and there's like rave music playing. Um
oh yeah,
it it's so the yeah, it
I mean, there's
definitely
stuff
is.
flying everywhere, there's bullets flying, everybody's
Yeah.
ducking. It's full on sickness. And again, this is the scene that I would reenact in our living room
Yep.
when I was 14.
Yes.
Jumping off the walls and flipping around in my bathrobe because it just made me feel cool. And I know now how silly that sounds, but
And you know
can't
what?
can't hurt the heart of a little 14-year-old trying to be
No.
cool in their robe.
No, we want you to be cool. Yeah, and it's
I
just like
tried.
and it's also I will say the lobby scene also furthers the kind of romantic subplot of the film, which is that Trinity and Neo are falling in love. And this
Hmm.
is sort of it's essentially a suicide mission that Neo has gone
Yeah.
on. And Trinity is like, well, you're not gonna go without me because
Hmm.
I am more of a badass than you are. I don't care if you're like, oh, the one or whatever the fuck. Like, you're new here. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm coming with you
Yeah.
because Trinity is
I
just,
love what you got going, but
yeah. She's like, babe, you're great. I'm way scarier than you are, though. So, and it's
and
fantastic.
she's the captain of the ship, so she gotta,
Yeah. She's captain of the
gotta
ship
do that thing.
since Morpheus has been taken. Um, Before bullet time comes the absolutely iconic soliloquy basically from Hugo Weaving, who plays Agent Smith, which is essentially like, oh, AI
Humans are a
is coming for
disease.
us. Humans are a disease. AI is
I
coming
wrote I
for
wrote
us. Yeah,
I
go ahead.
wrote the whole speech down in a journal entry because, okay, hot
No,
take, I understand Agent Smith more and more the older I get. I'm
1000%
like,
yes.
what the I've
Yes.
thought about just turning that into like a gift that I can send people, just him being
Ah!
like, I must get out of here. I must break free. Like, man, I feel you, Agent Smith. I don't want to be here either.
Oh my god, that's
this
so good.
this zoo, this reality, and he's part of the Matrix. He
He
can't break
is.
free of it.
He can't get out of it.
Th-
He can't get out the way that a human can. But I will say, I was
Which
like,
is explored very interestingly in the sequels, but we're not talking about
nobody's
that.
talking about the
Apparently,
sequels though right now. We're talking about this one.
apparently not.
But the like that whole monologue, I had the same thought. I was like, humans are a virus on the world. We are actively killing our planet. We are actively killing each other. Like, we have gone to
Mhm.
every corner of this globe and multiplied and consumed all of our resources with no thought for the future. And, like, yeah, you know, we did it. And, like, hey, and also, like, low key, like, we do smell bad sometimes. So I get that, Agent Smith. Like, I get that. I smell bad a lot of the time.
It's the smell, if there is such a thing.
There is such a thing. Uh, it's
Hugo Weaving was having
ugh,
a hell of a year that
dude,
year.
such a
I
year.
mean, I guess it didn't happen all at once, but he was within 3 years, he came onto the Hollywood scene as both Agent Smith and Elrond
Fucking
of Rivendell.
Elrond.
Hmm.
Fucking Elrond.
Lord of the Rings, baby.
Evan and I knew him from a film that we'll probably do at some point called Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. It's a
Mm,
great film,
the best.
Australian film. It's so good. It has Hugo Weaving in it. Check it out. Okay, bullet
Drag
time.
queens in the desert.
Yes.
What more do you need to know?
Nothing. That's it. That's a whole movie. Bullet time.
Bullet time. Yeah.
Time for
Bullet
bullets.
time is one of the most iconic things to have come out of this very, very iconic movie. You get a tease of it at the very beginning, the first time you see Trinity. Bullet time is essentially what the term that was coined to describe the very anime thing that they did in this movie, where a person will sort of pause in midair and the camera will fly 360 degrees around them within a moment of time, and then they will do some super cool action move. And it's meant to sort of indicate a slowing down of time and the speeding up of the mental facilities of the person doing the fighting. Um, so we first see it in Trinity. She does, her cool crane kick
Yeah.
at the beginning, and it floats around her. Um, the most iconic version of it is when Neo is on the rooftop and they encounter an agent, which is the big no-no. You have to avoid agents at all costs because they're more powerful than you. But Neo stands up to one and basically dodges 3 consecutive bullets by flying backwards. And when you see the behind the scenes footage of Keanu actually doing it on the wire work, it looks ridiculous.
That looks so silly.
He's
Looks
just
so
falling
silly.
backwards. And it's a huge testament, though, to Keanu's abilities, physical abilities as
Yes.
an actor, which I think is really maybe the thing that he's become most known for. We all kind of get that he's, Bill from Bill and Ted, and maybe he doesn't have the acting chops that you think he should. I think he's exactly the
I
right
think
type of person.
I think
That
you
he
should
was
shut the
born.
fuck up if you don't think that Keanu Reeves is a fantastic actor and human. You should shut up. And
I agree. I really like what he brings to the table in all of
oh
his
yeah.
movies, and
Oh
I
my
think
god.
that some people are able to just be themselves on screen, and I
And
think
he is.
that that's what Keanu brings to this. Um, so, movie nerds, and the way that they accomplished the way that they accomplished bullet time was actually they would do all of this on a large green screen with all of their wires, but for the martial arts stunt choreography. But there were a series of there was a huge circle of cameras firing still images consecutively over the course of the however many seconds that the action takes.
So, like,
So
dominoes, kind of like, they weren't doing it all at one time, that was, like, one, then the next, then the next, then the next, then the next, like that?
I'm not totally sure
Okay.
how it worked. I would assume though that I would assume that all of the cameras were firing at the same time, and
Mm,
then the post people, like you would do with, say, stop motion animation,
mm.
picked the individual frames to piece together as all the cameras. So I don't actually know if they would fire in a domino effect going around.
Mm.
That would indicate that they'd have to time it very
Very
specifically, which
specifically. Oh,
they would have had to
interesting.
do anyway.
That sounds
But if
very
all of the
labor
cameras
intensive.
were firing, honestly, no. You know what? I bet they were one after the other in a chain like
'Cause
that
wouldn't that
because,
show the movement better?
well, it's really just like the amount of time it would take to reset the still can't like if one
Mm,
camera was firing all the time,
mm,
like, you start getting into like the actual physical issues in the camera of like,
right.
is the shutter going to open quick enough to get the next one.
Oh.
Whereas if it's this one, then this one, then this one, then this one.
There's enough
So
time to, like, reset the shutter on each one. Oh, that's
mhm.
interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
because these images are taking incredibly fast. They have to be very, very
right.
high
You're at,
precision and
like,
stuff. So
7 thousandths of seconds and shit at this point.
yeah. However they did it, it's one of the most uh, iconic
Mhm.
and sort of groundbreaking visual effects of the late 20th century and probably in most of filmmaking. It
Yes.
spawned all kinds of repeat,
Mhm.
imitators. There was actually a video game uh, that came out back in the day from published by Rockstar that was Max Payne, which essentially
Oh,
made
yeah.
bullet time into a game mechanic where you could click to slow things down and then and actually they use it in a lot of video games, Red Dead Redemption and all kinds of games, because it helps it from a technical standpoint in a video game. It helps to be able to slow things down so you can aim at people and all hit
Ah,
them with your gun at the same time. So the idea has had many implications in other arenas
ah.
of art and media
Shout
since its
out,
inception.
shout out Rockstar, shout out Guion. That's awesome.
Yeah, what's up?
What's up? Yeah, it's man, the end of this film, I would say the last, like, third of this film is just, like, breathtaking visual after breathtaking visual. From what Evan was talking about, bullet time on the roof to, Trinity flying a helicopter and, like, Neo and Morpheus colliding in midair, and you get all these incredible upshots of, uh, what are they called? I
Oh, the
forgot the word.
shells,
The
the shells
helicopter with just, like,
falling
full
all
shells
around.
falling. Yeah, it's
That one is taken, I think, directly from an anime. There's so
I
many
think it
just
is.
anime
Yeah.
shots that are just taken directly from other movies, homages, if you will.
Yeah. Um, and then there's the scene in the subway
Oh, wait,
tunnel.
remember
Wait.
when when Trinity jumps out of the helicopter and the
Yeah.
helicopter is like flying into and crashes
Yeah.
into the building, and then the
Like,
building's glass warps like a pebble being dropped in a
yes.
piece of water and just explodes. Oh
So
my god,
sick.
shit's so
It's just
awesome.
so awesome. That's
And
I
then
really
everyone's
just
like, "Oh my god, he is the one." And
oh
then
my
Neo's like,
god.
"I'm super cool and I'm the one and blah blah blah."
Yeah, and it, like, literally this whole podcast could just be Evan and I shouting, "It's so fucking cool!" at each other over every
Yes.
single thing, so I hope that there is some narrative structure here. Um,
There is a yes, this is going to be the least interesting podcast because
I know, we're just
it's
like,
just all the fun things about the Matrix that make it so
we're
awesome and
just
cool.
excited to talk about it. I would like to talk about, well, I wanna get into, like, fun queer theory stuff, but I if
Let's talk about it.
Okay, I was like, we can also talk about like end scenes in the film, but those are just some sort of like iconic scenes. They're so great. They're so beautiful.
Yeah. Well, here, let's just briefly
Yeah.
synopsize the ending. Neo ends up getting in a fight with Agent Smith, and rather than running away, ends up going for it and going toe to toe with an agent, the most powerful thing in the Matrix.
After literally,
And
yeah. Go ahead.
and holds his own, you know.
Mhm.
So one more step in his hero journey. He's beginning to believe he is the one. He believes he actually can be able to take on the Matrix itself, which is what everyone's hoping for. After that fight is over, obviously, it's pretty much impossible to kill Agent Smith at this point. So after winning the battle and running Agent Smith into the L train or whatever train it
Oh my
is in
God.
Manhattan, he runs away and has to make it to a phone to get out of the Matrix. That's the way they get out of the phone. They have pay phones because this was 1999.
Yeah.
Landlines get you out of the
Landlines.
Matrix.
You know,
These still
children,
existed.
there used to be these
Mhm.
things called payphones.
Yeah, you have no
Fucking
idea. They
shut up, boomers. We
paid
know.
paid quarters. So he's running. He's pursued by agents. Everybody can't believe that he's making his way. People back on the Nebuchadnezzar are directing him to a landline, which is importantly probably the very same room that Trinity was hacking in at the very beginning of the movie. He finally makes his way through hell and high water to the room where he is greeted by a big old 9mm and Agent Smith shooting him in the chest. At
A
which point
bunch. A
the movie
bunch.
is over. He dies, and that's the end. I'm kidding. He's still
Lol.
alive. Meanwhile,
He
back in the real world, Trinity mentions that he must be the one. He must be the prophet because the Oracle told her that she was going to fall in love with a dead man who would be the one. So, since she loves him, he must be the one. And the restorative power of love and good feelings brings Neo back from the fake death of the Matrix to fight Agent Smith again.
he
At
pulls
which
a
point he's able to,
I was gonna say he pulls a real Lazarus kind of back from the
he
dead.
does, yeah.
Just like
He pulls a
expels
Lazarus.
bullets from his body.
Yeah. At which point he comes up and is very like Zen Kung Fu master. He basically, the agents begin to shoot him and he's able to stop the bullets in midair, indicating that he basically has now seen fully behind the code of the Matrix and can mess with it at will. Then he basically jumps into Agent Smith and does a big insidey worm monster
Yeah,
like
it's
explodey thing.
like real gross and uncomfortable, and I'm like, ew, heebie-jeebies. I
Yeah.
don't like this.
Another great callback to the animes of
Yes,
their
it's
collective cultural
very much an
enjoyment.
anime vibe to it.
Yeah. Neo gets out of the Matrix now that he's mastered it, makes it back just in time to the Nebuchadnezzar, which is also under attack from real world robots. And he gets out of the Matrix. They smash the EMT button, which allows them to
EMP button.
oh yes, electromagnetic
EMP will,
pulse.
come to your house when you fall down.
That's right. And then he makes his way out and it's brilliant. And then the movie ends with him being like, I'm going to show these people a different world and you can join me or you can, I leave the choice up to you. And then he's got the badass
And he starts flying like Superman into
in the screen, which was the one thing I thought, okay, when I saw it the first time. But in a purely anime kind of way, which is I'm realized is the best way to enjoy the Wachowskis' work, it is totally awesome and ostentatious and flamboyant, and it's perfect.
It is the silliest way to cap off this like brilliant philosophical masterpiece of work. with Rage Against
And
the
yet, in a
Machine
way,
and flying into the camera. It's like,
yeah.
doesn't make any sense, and I love it.
And yet it is kind of a perfect way, because everything has been pushing towards this freeing of your mind
Yeah.
and realizing that the Matrix is all about mastering the Matrix means being able to break its rules and jump out of the
Mhm.
conventions of society. And what is more outside the realm of thinking than to believe that you can fly and actually doing it? Flying is one of the main um, images of dreams about freedom when we have
Mhm.
them. So it
Yeah.
actually makes a lot of thematic resonance to have him flying at the end. It indicates a sort of heroic freedom over the powers of oppression.
Mhm. Yes. It's like you said, it's great, but it's also fucking batshit. Like, we can just all agree, like, it's a batshit way to end a film. Like, it just is.
It is.
Um,
Whee!
Whee! So
Let's talk some queer theory.
let's talk query. Um, so obviously, this film came out in 1999. There was discussion of in like academic circles and in queer circles of all of these ideas of identity and breaking societal rules, or quote unquote breaking societal rules, or rewriting the rules to suit your being and your personhood and your family and all of those things. And obviously the Matrix can be viewed through a variety of lenses, and one that comes up very often is through the lens of queer theory, and specifically trans identity. Lily and Lana Wachowski are trans women, and they were making this at a time where they were not um, out as trans women. But if you are looking at it from that perspective, being I am non-binary myself. Many of my friends, loved ones are trans and non-binary, and if you look at it from that lens of
Non
what?
non-binary itself is kind of even a word
Right.
that has its roots in computer language,
Right.
like the Matrix. Like binary means that you are making a
One
programming
or
language
other.
entirely out of zeros or ones, which is one thing or the other. Non-binary, obviously indicating I identify as neither of those. I am
I'm
something
in the
else.
middle.
Yes,
I'm
or outside of either of them
outside of
potentially.
either of them. Who cares? I get to I get to exist in a reality where I decide what my gender is and what my just gender means, which is sort of the
Mhm.
same journey that Neo's going on, in terms of recognizing that the societal structure you have been given can change if you think differently. Then your experience will change, right? Like, you don't have to stay
Mhm.
in this one way. Um And so there's obviously, the trans allegory of the Matrix is a big thing. They even like reference it in the most recent Matrix film, as like kind of a meta like joke, like, ha ha, I get it, right? It's a trans allegory. But it
I
is,
thought we
and
were talking about the sequels.
that was an aside. That was not me derailing us. Um, I want to say thank you so much for not talking about the sequels as much as you definitely wanted to. So I appreciate it.
I I'm just saving it for another episode.
Great. I can't wait. So yeah, there's that whole side of things, as well as I would say the relationship between Morpheus and Trinity, or sorry, Neo and Trinity, is, I would argue, a pretty queer relationship, even though it's like ostensibly like a cis man and a cis woman. Um, Trinity as a character is not really for like the male gaze. I don't think. She is hot in a way
Mm.
that women find other women hot, or like queer people find queer people hot. Um,
Mhm.
like when
Oh, yeah, dive into that a little bit more. Explain what you mean.
yeah, so she,
'Cause I think she's pretty hot.
I mean, I know that, Evan, duh, obviously we've talked about this many times. Um, but it's sort of this, she is a character that, physically, obviously Carrie Ann Moss is a gorgeous woman. Um, but is not outside of the Matrix where, they're kind of all wearing like leather and stuff and things and whatever. She's never shown in this aggressively feminine style. Like, she's not wearing like a lot of makeup. She doesn't have long hair. She is feminine, but in her own way. And
Mhm.
and she also is like, she's not coddling Neo, and she's not
Mhm.
lying to him. She is like, look, this fucking sucks, and if you want to survive, you have to work really hard, and I'm not going to like hold your hand and fix this for you. You have to make a choice. You have to decide things. Like, she's a more fully realized character than a lot of
Mhm.
female characters in science fiction.
Yeah.
And Neo as well is not, like we were talking about at the beginning, is not like this hyper masculine action star hero. He is
Yeah. Keanu Reeves, while being a very attractive, handsome man
oof,
and very masculine, has a kind of androgynous quality to his
yeah.
face.
And he is kind of like, both Carrie Ann Moss and Keanu Reeves like have a little bit of that androgynous edge to them. And
Mhm.
Neo as a character is very brooding, and he is like questioning himself a lot and questioning
Mhm.
who he is and what's going on in his life, and all
Yeah,
of
no
these.
doubt something that is great because it's a universal thing that everybody goes through, but
Absolutely.
something that is also very, uh, poignant to the, LGBTQIA experience.
Right.
So I understand.
Yes, and it's this really beautiful relationship dynamic that doesn't rely on, I am man, I am big and strong, I save you, and then a woman going, "Oh my god, look at my tits. I can't even focus on my job because my tits are being
Well,
tits."
and that's the important thing about this movie and throughout the rest of the Matrix movies. They make a very strong point that Neo and Trinity save each other,
Yes.
and they
Over
pass the
and over.
torch back and forth between saving each other over and over again,
Yeah, it
which is a
is.
very beautiful way to indicate a love relationship. And yeah,
Yeah.
I was talking about this the other day, that I really uh, admire, um, you know, gay couples, homosexual couples, because they don't have to, uh, because especially if it's, this is true, I'm sure, of, trans situations and non-binary situations, but when thinking about it with same-sex couples, like, they're, um, a lot of the problems that come up in cisgender relationships, I think,
Mm,
come from this indication of what society expects, and
mm.
it becomes a default. And but but queer people have to have those conversations about who is what to each other, what the day in, day out responsibilities are of running
Oh,
a
yeah.
household together, what the who is the more, if this is even the way that you want to, think about it, like, who is the masculine or the more feminine, or
Or
who can,
neither,
and it
if
doesn't even
both of
has to
you
be
aren't.
that. It's just like, but you have to have those conversations in order to work
Yes.
with one
Well,
another.
and
And it's not a given. You're not just handed pre-prescribed roles to
right.
fulfill. You have to make a choice. You have to come
Well, and
up
you
with those identities and those relationship dynamics for yourself. It's
right.
something you and your partner actively work out, which is something that I think a lot of cisgender
And
couples could learn a lot from.
And I will say that in the realm of, somebody that has been in many queer relationships in my life or whatever form that is, whether it's with cisgendered people or other non-binary people or trans people, whatever, that is very true, is that in queer relationships, there isn't a script because we've been kept out of the narrative of how to be in a relationship, right? That we have this
Mhm.
like patriarchal idea of all of these things,
Mhm.
which doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help cis people, and it doesn't help straight people, whatever.
Doesn't
Um
help Neo and Trinity.
it doesn't help Neo and Trinity, and I think what you're saying is totally right on, is that, when you're in queer relationships, there's intrinsically the people in that relationship usually have done a lot more introspection and have done a lot more personal growing to
Mhm.
recognize, well, this is who I am intrinsically because
Mhm.
oh gosh, I'm hitting my microphone. Like I've already had to dismantle all of my ideas about who I was in society in order to
Mhm.
become who I am, and I'm going to bring
Yeah.
that same energy to my intimate relationships, whether those are romantic or friends, um, that you just have more of that understanding, and you can kind of come to a relationship with a lot more honesty and openness and say, "Hey, even if you look a certain way or have a certain set of prescribed things that like you should or shouldn't do, none of that actually matters. Like what matters is you and I coming to an
Mhm.
agreement of like where this is going to go, and it creates a lot more like active give and take and active like I'm not saving you and you're not saving yourself, or like you're not saving me, I'm not saving you, we're saving each other back and forth continually, and ultimately,
Yeah.
I'm taking care of myself, you're taking care of yourself, and together we can take care of each other as well, and it creates a really beautiful framework to look at the matrix through as well, because you do see that in Neo and Trinity, is that they're not falling into prescribed gender roles. They're not falling into those kind of traps continually. And it's not like, once Neo and Trinity get together that Trinity like becomes all like soft and domestic. She's like, "No, I will still fuck you up real hard." Like real hard. And it's great. And oh my god, Carrie Ann Moss is so goddamn sexy. And so is Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves is looking fucking fine in that like tight long sleeve black shirt in the subway station. I was like, babe, what?
This has been Esther Perel Discusses the Matrix. Thank you for joining us on our journey into the mindsets of a real life couple from a fake reality.
Oh my god, I love it.
I mean, I'd listen to that.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think it's just so good. And yeah. Just everybody, here's some advice from one queer person to any straight and cis people listening. Just anybody can do that in their relationship. It's not just queer people. Like if you're a cis person dating another cis person in a heterosexual relationship, you can do the same thing. You can just do the same thing. Great.
It's true.
It's true. Okay, well,
Should we wrap up with some thoughts and takeaways unless you have more
I don't.
thoughts on
I was just
yeah.
gonna yeah, I was gonna
You
jump.
you you queer theoried the shit out of that queer theory.
I
You
there's
queried that whole you queered all over that.
I did. I queered all over that. Um, I'm sure there's probably other stuff. I'm really interested in queer theory. I mean, like I'm a queer person, so it's not like I study it. It's just my life, I guess. Um, but yeah, I
You're a
want to
student of life.
and pussy. Let's talk legacy thoughts, takeaways.
Well, This is the motherfucking Matrix.
It's the Matrix. Have you ever heard the term, there's a glitch in the Matrix? Thank this film.
Yeah. Have you yeah. It's the fucking Matrix.
It's the
So
Matrix.
shut the fuck up. This is 5 out of 5.
Shut all the way up. We're gonna do vibe
Yeah.
checks in a second, but I will just say, like, the legacy of this film cannot be understated. It came at such a specific moment in, American culture, the turning of the 21st century.
We were all worried about Y2K and that all of our
Oh
bank
my
statements
God.
were going to get
We were so worried.
completely fritzed
Guys,
out.
you had no idea. If you didn't live through
And
it,
this
you don't
movie
know.
helped us, opened our mind to the fact that systems of oppression, and you know what? All the lessons of the Matrix still alive and well today. In fact, in some ways, they feel more prescient and more oppressive and more ever present than they were 25 years ago.
This whole film, the premise of it is basically humans created self-aware machines, and then those machines started making humans into soup to feed to other humans because humans are good batteries. Sound familiar? But yeah, it's basically this whole movie really set the stage for the 21st century, especially now where we are in the age of AI, technocracy, and basically, like, humans are always slaves to the advances that we make. We kind of always we think that we're doing something that will free us, but ultimately, unless we free our minds, we are not free.
I do still wish that we had flip phones or whatever you
Dude.
call the phones that they have.
That, like,
the
Nokia phone that lets, like,
yeah.
Oh, God, it was so sick.
Why didn't that take on more? Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a great indicator of early cell phone technology
really
when we all
is. I
thought
mean-
before iPhones, there were little things that looked like pill boxes that you would carry around.
Yep. And and
Shit
just
is
like
pretty cool.
there's so many things of, like, there's a glitch in the Matrix, there is no spoon, the red pill, blue pill thing. All of these things now are cultural touch points, and it came from this.
Yeah, these are ways that we describe things, this is a way that we describe things that we don't have other language for.
Yeah.
Again, the Wachowskis just give them any money
Whatever
that they
money
need
they
to make
want.
anything. Everything that they do from here on out, they have not made perfect movies since The Matrix, but they are so full of robust ideas and interesting philosophies and concepts that will open your mind up. And sometimes they're just about like weird anime dogs saving a space princess.
And
like,
fine.
let them have it. Let them have fun. Let them do jazz. Like they can, because we deserve their voice in this world.
I want
forever.
Beautiful geniuses to just never stop. Keep being who you are.
Keep being your weird anime obsessed Foucault reading selves.
Fangirls, like,
give us
you.
Cloud Atlas. Give us Jupiter Ascending.
Give us
Speed Racer. Give us Sense8.
It's fine. We're here for it. We love it and we want to be part of it. So thank you for your service, Wachowskis. You were just the best. And now I think it's time for
Tambok na siksi.
Vibe check.
Vibe check. Nice. All right. That's it. Yeah. That's the way we do it.
Wowzers, giving me a soundboard was somewhat like giving I don't even know. Something to someone who's irresponsible.
It was both a smart and an awful decision,
yes,
which you made for yourself without consulting me. So thank you.
Okay,
vibe
checks. So we do, if this is the first time that you're listening, we don't really rate things, we give them a vibe check, and that is we talk about things based on their story and based on their vibes. And so you could have like a
Mhm.
movie that has great vibes but no story, or a great story and great vibes, or kind of like minimal story, minimal vibes. So
And
Evan,
I think that we can, and I think that as we define this a little bit more, I mean, again, a vibe is kind of undefinable. It's
yeah,
like
it's a
the vibe
vibe.
just means, do you feel like you're a part of this movie? Are you gelling with the environment? Do you get sucked up by its presence? Are you in it? Do you, beyond being intellectually stimulated, do you just feel the
You
vibes?
feel the vibe
And
of the film.
yeah. Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I think that The Matrix is, I think that it's heavy on story and heavy on vibes. I
yeah,
think that I think that there's a lot of story to get across because there's a lot of
yeah.
lore you need to understand the Matrix. So you're doing a lot of what could be considered homework through
Mm,
this movie, catching up. Like you, as watching Neo as our audience surrogate, are learning a lot about what is going on in this world. Getting caught up to speed for the first 3 quarters of the movie.
yeah.
Um, so there's a lot to describe, but throughout it, um, there's you're dropped into feeling
Mm,
the texture of this world and the
yeah.
vibes. I will say that vibes, I usually indicate vibes to mean like just like feeling chill, and like Dune is a perfect example.
Mm,
Lots of vibes in Dune, just
lots of vibes.
existing in this world,
Lots of vibes.
observing things. And The Matrix is an action movie.
Mhm.
So you could make an argument that that it's low on vibes because the vibes are intended to amp up your nervous system, your
Mm.
excitement, basically,
But see, I think that is the vibe. I think that is the vibe. 'Cause
that is the
I'm
vibe.
gonna I'm gonna introduce a potentially new term, which is
Okay.
I think this has a great story and, like, peak vibes. Like,
Oh, peak vibes.
like, it
Okay.
is and I mean that to say it is hitting something that is so specific and so unique
Mhm.
that it created a whole other realm of things that have a similar vibe. But this one is like peak vibes because it is like, I am exactly from the year 1999. I am exactly an action martial arts movie. I am exactly a queer story about love and fate. And it is
Mhm.
and at every point, all of the aspects of the film are, like, reinforcing the vibe. Um, and I think what
Yeah,
you
it
said is
does.
true, yeah, about just, like, you're given a lot of exposition, you're given a lot of story, but the fucking
Mhm.
peak vibes are there, and they just, like, carry you through.
It's got, like, philosophy vibes for sure,
Yeah,
as well,
but in, like, a hot way when your professors, like
in, like, a hot leather way.
in, like, a hot leather way when your, like, philosophy professor is, like, 32 and she rides a motorcycle and, like, wears really tight pants and then also, like, grades your paper and buys you a beer and you might be in love with her. Is this a specific thing that I'm describing? No!
I wanna take that class.
Dude.
Sign me up.
Dude. She was so fucking hot. She was so fucking hot. And she was only, like, 12 years older than I was at the time when I was in college, and I was like, "I'm in love with you." Um,
I don't know what to do with
I
myself.
don't know what to do with myself right now.
I'm falling apart from the inside out.
Yeah, basically, I was like, "Oh, cool, well, I'm not smart or any kinda can't talk when I'm in class because she's really hot."
Aw, teacher crush. Yeah, there's nothing quite like The Matrix. It does the same thing that truly iconic movies do. Like this did the same type of thing that Star Wars did, right?
Mm,
Like Star Wars took samurai movies and
yes.
westerns and Zen Buddhism and just and
Yeah,
Saturday morning science fiction serials and just smashed them together and made this
yes.
thing that everybody agrees is incredible. And The Matrix does the same thing. It takes all of these elements and blends them so seamlessly and perfectly together, you wonder how nobody thought about it before them. And it's true. It's not the first movie to put the sort of cyberpunk aesthetic on the screen, but it is the one that brought it to the most people and made it sort of culturally iconic in a big way that people now understand cyberpunk. Like, not just people who have read William Gibson or seen Johnny Mnemonic understand what cyberpunk is now.
There is literally a scene in the beginning of this film where Neo is at some like crazy raver party, and there is a person in the background that, I'm shit you not, is covered in safety pins and has 2 colanders on their titties. And like that's their like raver outfit. It's fucking
they threw all their kinky shit into the
they
Matrix.
did. And I was like, yes.
Just in one little scene, they're just like, this is important, I swear.
And it's just like a fucking raver leather bar, and I love it. All right,
incredible.
well, thanks for listening to our episode on The Matrix.
That's been The Matrix. We love talking about it and recalling what a
it.
great seminal thing it's been in our lives.
Yes. You can email us at brothersiblingmovie@gmail.com. You can also find us on YouTube at brothersiblingmovie, all one word. You can find me, Mara Morgan, on Instagram at Lawn Daddy Lives Here. I don't know if there's hyphens or periods in that. I can't remember, and I obviously am not going to check. And Evan, where can people find you?
You can find me on you can find me on Instagram and YouTube as Art of Evan K, all one word. You can check out my films, illustrations, short video, and my work in the stop motion entertainment industry. Also check out my website, artofevank.com. See what I'm doing out there in the world. I look forward to interfacing with you and talking cool things out in the world. Oh, and find my letterbox, Evan Kerna, Koehne. Read all about my movie reviews as I go through and do the actual 5-star situation for these movies on LetterBoxd, a social media platform for cinephiles.
Evan has 5 reviews of the film Twisters.
I know, soon to be 6.
I was like, I was almost going to ask you, I was like, have you done another one though? Do you have 6 now?
I do love rating Twisters and indicating how much I love/hate it.
Brilliant. All right, guys. It's been so lovely chatting with you. And Evan, I will talk to you next week. And we will have another great film in our 90s sci-fi and fantasy season. But for now...
In the meantime, go watch a movie with your sibling or remember them fondly.
Yeah. Go watch a movie with your sibling. Call your sibling.
Or any family member that you love and want to spend more time with.
No, it has to be a sibling. If you're not doing it with a sibling, it doesn't count.
I say it counts. So
okay, well, Evan
we can agree to disagree on this.
Evan's a more like forgiving sort or whatever than I am, I guess. Whatever. But thanks, y'all. Talk later. Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.